Welcome to another episode of the Bluprint Pod. I am your host, Raymond Roots, and today I have my co host and my co founder, Muhammad Imam, aka My Visuals. How are you, bro?
Absolutely great, thankfully. All good. Recovered from Corona, so I feel like I'm almost at 100%. So yeah, all good. And we've been trying to get this guest on for a while, but you ended up getting Corona, and I ended up getting it, and it wasn't easy. But here we are today, and
Yes,
all,
sir.
all good.
We have a special guest on today. We have the visual storyteller, Jonathan Belle, aka Seattle Superman.
All right, thanks
Did
for
I get that right?
the show. You got it right.
Yes. How are you, man?
I am good. It's a nice, cold Saturday afternoon in Vermont.
So are you based in Vermont?
I am not. I'm just up here. We're making content at the moment.
What are you doing right now? What is a visual storyteller?
That is something that I pretty much chose to call myself because I like making stories visually with either photos or videos or Instagram stories or reels or something like that.
I kind of like that term as well. I think I made a video where I call myself a visual storyteller as well. So I relate to that where like we like to use visuals to tell some kind of story, and not just to make beautiful visuals, but to actually move people. That was my intention at least. But for those who don't know, what is it that you're doing for a living?
Currently, I am a railroad conductor. Is what I do technically. I I'm an independent contractor, so if railroads need like a conductor on demand or like a lease conductor, then I pretty much travel around and go to these different railroads that might need help.
Is that something that's been affected by COVID?
It has actually. So I being in between contracts a lot of railroads not hiring because the railroads they move product, like grain or chemicals or gas or just pretty much everything you could pretty much think of. And when these companies stop working to produce stuff because they're either shut down or don't have enough people, then it's really slow, which affects the railroad as well.
Okay. So I did some digging on you before we started this episode, and I went onto your website, and first of all, a really nice website, and it's something that I think every creative should have at some point. But it says that you quit your job in 2016, so that must have taken a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah. So to backdate to that, so I used to work like full time for a railroad called Union Pacific. And it was like a career job. You get in, you work for about 30, 40 years, which it was a good paying job. It didn't give me enough free time to do what I wanted to. Because if you are familiar with the transportation industry or anybody who's familiar with it, you don't really have a lot of free time yourself because you're always on the road. And so when I lived in Texas, that's what I was doing. And I wanted to do something that had a lot more free time. So I actually quit that job to go van life around Seattle and the Pacific Northwest. And the job that I have now, I got because I wanted to. We could get into this a little bit more later. I picked this up again because one, it was more mobile, and two, I could travel doing a bunch of different things across the country instead of being stuck in one state.
So
Sorry, I thought you had a question.
no, so I was just gonna kind of introduce ourselves as well, just so what we do as well. So I'm a full time. Oh, I used to be somewhat of an IT technician before, but now I'm in more of like a project manager role within the same IT kind of thing. But yeah, graphic design, as you know, in my free time, and now we're building this brand called the Bluprint because we want to make sure that we get to a point where we can inspire people with our work at a larger scale and also give more insights into what other creatives are doing and get their stories and their creative processes as well. And that's something that I think you embody as well with a lot of things you do. You show the behind the scenes and behind the season whoa, I can't speak today. You show the behind the scenes and all the other things that you do, and I think that's really interesting, and it kind of embodies our brand as well. I'll let Ray speak about himself so he can introduce himself a little bit as well.
Yeah, you see, my problem, and I've noticed that this past like 8, 9 episodes, is that I just start digging into questions without actually like introducing myself.
One episode he didn't say his name at all.
Yeah, I didn't even say my name in one episode.
Yeah.
I just like to get it, but yeah, I work in. I have a background in IT, and I work in IT. But it's a pretty chill job. I specifically work as a Scrum Master, for those who know what that is. But because the job is pretty chill, it gives me a lot of time and a lot of freedom to work on creative things, like the
Is that
Bluprint.
what you call the PS4 then? You don't play
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have a lot of in between time between. I have a lot of free time in between meetings, and ever since we started working from home,
Yeah.
like if I don't have work, I'm just gonna play. Like I'm just gonna do something, because like there's nothing I want to, like I don't want to spend 30 minutes on a project. I want to like sit down, and I want to spend a good amount of time on it if I'm really gonna invest myself in it. So those 30 minutes, I just usually sit down and play like FIFA or Batman Arkham Knights or something like that. But
I hear you.
Yeah, my job is giving me a lot of flexibility, and I'm like very happy, and like I'm very happy because
that's good to hear.
yeah, honestly, like how many people can just sit at work? You know, I might get in trouble for this, man. My work might hear this, but like I'm very happy about the job that I have right now.
He's gonna come in on Monday with like all sorts of folders on his desk.
Yeah, I gotta get fired on Monday. Hopefully not. But so if I were to tell my family I was gonna quit my job right now, I think I would get a lot of pushback. Did you deal with anything similar with your closest circle?
No, because by the time that I actually went to, because I'm not from Texas, I'm from California. So by the time I actually moved to find that job, I'd already moved around a little bit here and there. And so my friends and family, they pretty much knew that that's how I was. So I was lucky to have the support from my parents and my friends and stuff too. There was like, sometimes there was one of my friends, his father, he made a comment about like, oh, we'll have to go visit you when you find your place and stuff, like kind of one of those snarky, like, well, I don't know why you just doing this, and that was like the only one, and I think that's why it stands out the most in my head. But other than that, that's it. I didn't get any pushback at all, because it's traveling and moving around and stuff has always been something that I've done my whole life.
I've got loads of questions to ask you about van life, by the way. I don't think I'll ever like take the leap to get into it, but I feel like at some point in the next 10 years, who knows, but I feel like I'll purchase a van and try to start to customize it and work on it a bit. But I've been following like van life YouTubers for a while, and it just looks like you get a lot of freedom, but I can imagine there's a lot of a lot of cold with it as well. But I just wanted to hear about that and how you got into that as well.
Well, I picked so when I quit the job, I knew that like to pursue this kind of creative career, I didn't want to spend money on rent, especially in Seattle, because Seattle's expensive. And I wanted going from working all the time at the railroad to I wanted to find a job that I could devote more time working on my creativity and stuff. So I got a job. I actually ended up finding a job being a dishwasher at a retirement home in Bellevue. And the reason why I pretty much picked that is because I knew that I could, if I worked in a kitchen, I could get free food. So I got like 2 free meals a day. Didn't have to worry about that. And they had a shower there. And plus, like washing dishes, it wasn't one of those jobs where like, don't be on your phone, don't do this, don't do that. So they pretty much left me alone, and I was on my phone like literally every single second I was at work for the most part, because I got my job done when I needed to, and they didn't give me any flack about, having my headphones on and being on social media. So, but I picked that because, living in a van, and I never glamorized my van at all. My first van was an $800 van that I found in Texas off of OfferUp, I think, and broke down with not even a year later. So I had to get another van. I'm currently in my 3rd van, but it's not like that being the case too, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on aesthetics because I wanted that money to go into, cosplay or gas money or, stuff that I would actually need instead of wanting to make my van look nice. So it wasn't one of those very aesthetically pleasing looking Pinterest vans at all.
But it does the job, doesn't it?
Yeah, the whole point was for me to just be able to not sleep on the street.
Mm. So, like, in terms of like your creativity and how that works with your van life as well. By the way, just so any listeners that aren't aware of like what van life is, it's essentially what Jonathan spoke about in terms of how like living costs and rent costs at the moment are ridiculously high, and a lot of people nowadays are choosing like going down the lane of like either going through the van life or things like tiny homes where you somehow obtain a bit of land, or you're blessed enough to have parents rich enough to purchase for you, but you're able to just go and live alone or live in a place where it's a lot more freedom for you and it's at a lot cheaper cost. So obviously, it's not as glamorous as some people make it on the internet, but it's also a very attractive lifestyle as well, I think. For people who want to travel and get into things, I actually have a neighbor that's got a van that's fully kitted out. So every now and then I see them going out and about, and I'm just like, well, I think I would really love to do that, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to just go and buy one and invest in one. But like you said, you can probably get one pretty cheap and just firm the lifestyle if you're willing and ready to do it. But yeah, because like I think a big thing that's becoming a bit more popular these days is people like going through chasing nature and trying to escape the city and going fishing. And I'm personally following like 10 fishing channels on YouTube, and I've never been fishing in my life. And then like, that kind of led down to like van life. And then when I saw you doing it, I was like, this guy is really cool. Like even on the Instagram, when someone likes your message, he usually leaves a love heart, but his one has a lightning sign on it.
Yeah.
Cool
Well,
as hell.
people don't realize like the traveling and stuff is fun, but that's only one aspect of, it's like if you had a home and you go take a trip somewhere and then you come back to your home. But in the van, it's like if you go take a trip somewhere, you're there, and then when you leave there, you're in the. So like, there's still a lot of downtime. It's not like you're always. That's just like your RV or your home, and what comes with that is, you got to allow yourself time for like space and where to put stuff. Like, uh, you know, uh, I had a gym membership I had a membership to a gym that was open 24 hours.
Mm.
That's how I would take my showers. I was on a really kind of strict eating schedule because I didn't want to have to wake up in the middle of the night to go do a number two somewhere. Can't really, and that was before COVID. And now it's even a lot harder because gyms won't let you shower in gyms now. I would go if I did have to use the bathroom late at night or early in the morning, I would just go drive to a Walmart and use the bathroom there. But now Walmarts aren't open 24 hours anymore. So it's all changing a little bit now. And I haven't paid rent since 2016, but I also haven't fully been in the van since then. I spent a year and a half living in a van, in two different vans. My first one broke down, and then I bought another one. And then that's when I was like, you know what? Because I went from making $100,000 a year to, making $15 an hour washing dishes and stuff. So I still had bills. I had like taxes, I had some credit card debt, and I wanted to find a way to get out of there. So I finally was like, you know what? I should just get another quote unquote real job, get out of debt, buy another camera, get a computer, like stuff that I wanted to do. So I went to the library to use the internet and spent probably like a good 3 hours updating my resume. And literally the next day, I got a call from this company that hires railroad conductors to like go work in remote places for railroads that need them. And so he's like, we have a job opening, and the thing about this was like the company pays you per day, like a per diem, and like you get a set rate, and they put you up in a hotel to stay for free. So I didn't have to pay for that. So I was like, that sounds like a good deal. The problem was the first contract I got, the town was like a town in the middle of nowhere in Montana. It was like a 5,000 person town, and I was just starting to gain some momentum in Seattle with the
Mm.
Superman thing, but I also wanted to leave, and like it actually was a pretty big decision for me to leave because
Mm.
I didn't want to destroy everything that I just started.
Mm.
But so anyway, I took the job, and I literally drove out to Montana in a van that was broke. I The speedometer wasn't working. The whole dashboard was broke, so I couldn't tell how fast I was going. I couldn't tell how much gas I used. I couldn't tell if the engine would overheat or not. And I had to drive 1,100 miles. I don't know how many kilometers that is, but I drove 1,100 miles with not knowing how any of that stuff was working. And I just hoped that I made it over to the hotel. Right. It took me
Yeah.
about 3 days to drive there. Um, and then I stayed. Then they paid for my hotel room for a year and a half. So I lived in a hotel for literally a year and a half in Montana doing that. And then when that contract was over
Mm.
in 2019, I had another contract in 2020 that started up in Vermont, and then that got canceled.
Mm.
So I had to luckily I had a friend that let me house sit their house, and that's how I ended up staying there. So between job contracts, I have friends that will let me either stay with them or stuff like that. But that's how I am able to continually do this. It's
Mm.
just bounce around like that. Or if push comes to shove, I still have the van to sleep in, which I will do occasionally if I need to. But other than that, that's how I've been pretty much surviving.
Yeah. So would you like suggest it to people like living the van life and like you've obviously given your thoughts now about it and clearly there's ups of it and there's downs. But would you suggest or recommend it to people like
I
just
mean, I would
pursuing the
not.
van life?
It just depends on why you would want to do that. Because I mean, like, if you have this idea, if you're trying to save money and stuff, then yeah, I mean, if you want to go travel, yeah, it all. I guess it all depends because it could be a very lonely thing,
Mm.
and you're isolated, you're by yourself. There's a whole stigma of you live in a van, you must be like a hippie or a bum or something like that. So
Mm.
I guess it just really depends on what your motivations would be for wanting to do that.
Mm.
It's not all fun and games like people think it is.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I have some questions about like the everyday life of living the van life. And you touched on it a little bit yourself, but like, what do you do with space? Do you like, are you forced to live a minimalistic lifestyle just because of there's a lack of space, or do you have like a few tips and tricks to get around that?
So when I left Texas and I put everything that I wanted to in a van and I drove out to Seattle and I put a majority of my stuff in storage. So I haven't been paying rent, but I have been paying for storage space for 4 years now. But it's like a small little 5x5 storage. And what comes with that is, obviously you live life and you accrue more things. So now I have, so now at my friend's house in where I've been staying due to COVID, I have some bunch of stuff there. So I have a storage space of belongings in Seattle on the West Coast, and then I have a bunch of like huge Tupperware bins of stuff on the East Coast in Pennsylvania somewhere.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's very, very, very minimalistic
Mm.
life. But I mean, that just depends. I didn't want to pay to like get this huge van and put a bunch of shelving in and do a whole bunch of cool stuff and da 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 da. Like I didn't have that. I didn't have a Sprinter van. I just had like some 1990 cargo van that was really small.
Mm.
And so I only had enough clothes that would last per week, and I'd go to the laundromat pretty much every week to do laundry. Um, and all the other stuff I had was like covers, blankets, and the food was I would just buy my food every day from a supermarket as is, or if I had like snacks and stuff. But yeah, it's very very minimal lifestyle because you don't have a lot of space to do a lot of things.
Mm.
What do you do with like I assume there is a lot of alone time especially when you drive 1,100 miles, which I looked up. It's 1,770 kilometers. Um, but it's just like taking those long rides and just going from city to city. Like, what do you typically? Is there a thing you typically do during the day? Because I imagine like when I get home from work and I'm bored, like I can just chill at home, turn on the TV, put on a game, watch a movie. Like, how do you go get around that when you don't have electronics or uh like the same access to amenities that you have when you live in an apartment or a house?
Yeah, you just get used to it. It's like I only had my phone and the internet, right? And so because I was trying to build my Seattle Superman brand, it was either, watch Netflix or HBO and stuff, or because I only had one screen, right? I was either do that or be on social media, you know, um, trying to connect with people. So basically, if I didn't really want to do that at all, I would watch shows or stuff on like Netflix or HBO for like downtime, or I would watch YouTube videos or tutorials. Or I was in Seattle. I mean, PNW, there's nature everywhere, the Pacific Northwest. So I would either like hike or, but mainly I was working pretty much all the time or trying to figure out like what type of photos to shoot. So I was either at work, and then when I wasn't at work, I was in the Superman suit, or I was editing photos or on social media. So that's pretty much how I chose to spend that whole year and a half I was strictly living in the van.
Mm.
And that's why when I got to Montana in the hotel room, I think I literally must have watched like over 100 and so shows that you can have. I finally had Wi-Fi and a way to watch something else. So when I would edit my photos, I had my iPad there that I would watch all the stuff on my iPad. I would have Netflix on while I was on social media simultaneously and caught up on everything I had missed out on.
Mm. So I was like, speaking on the topic of social media, I just wanted to talk about how we connected as well, how I discovered you, and also I like binge listened to your Positive Vibe Tribe podcast for quite a bit. So yeah, I think I started. Oh, I've been doing graphic design for about 4 years, going on 5 years now. I've always been quite creative since I was a kid, but I never really like pursued it seriously, like from probably me at 7 years old or something, like doing a lot of drawing. And I don't know if you guys know what bionicles are in America. Bionicles, like there's these like action figures that are like aliens, but I couldn't like afford to go and buy those, so I used to try and like make them out of paper. So I would cut out paper and I'll like make them all symmetrical and stuff and make them look like robots, and then I'll tie like bin bags to them and pretend like they're parachuting down places and stuff. And that was kind of like my creative origin. And I didn't do anything beyond that. Once I started like going to school more and going through full-time education, I felt like that creativity got sapped out of me for like a good 15 years or something. And only now in like the last 5 years or so, I've started picking up my creativity and embracing it and developing it further and further. Have I started to like really enjoy it? And I was kind of like, when I first started graphic design, I think I went on Instagram and then I started um, trying to share my work as well, and also seeking inspiration from other people. And I don't know how, but I stumbled across your page, and I just thought like, okay, he's a black guy cosplaying as Superman, but doing it in a really interesting way. And then I noticed you had your podcast as well, the Positive Vibe Tribe, and I thought that looks really interesting as well. So I went and listened to that, and I just kind of wanted to talk about that because the podcast that you do like little daily 1 minute episodes where you're literally just like dropping a quote or talking a little bit about a little experience you had, but making it very short and sweet. And I really enjoyed that because every day you can kind of listen to it and like get a little mood boost as well. Because a lot of us are dealing with things that aren't too ideal in life, and a lot of us are working our way towards becoming more content and making a life for ourselves that we're happy with. And I just want to talk about resilience and how you deal with any issues that you have and ups and downs. Because you seem like someone who's a very resilient person, who can obviously you're a human being at the end of the day. You're not a machine, but you seem like a resilient person who has had to deal with a lot of downs, but has embraced them and just took them in stride. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. So like, how have you built up your resilience over the years, would you say?
Thanks. Well, I would well, thanks for those kind words. I would pretty much just from journaling a lot, honestly, and like the kind of life that I've kind of had, like the different type of jobs I've had, and this and that. It's I like to journal a lot, and it helps me put a lot of things in perspective
Mm.
because there can be, you know, how we all have those days or months or weeks where we think that like the whole world is falling apart and this and that.
Mm.
Um, and so I usually will write those down, and I'll, you know, and then like a year later or maybe even 4 or 5 months later, I'll go back and look at what I wrote and how I was feeling when I, you know, thought everything was like doomed. And
Mm.
then like it's funny to see your perspective change when you're not in that situation anymore, when everything has worked out. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
basically, whenever I feel like something is terrible is happening, or like I'm in a bind or something like that, I just know that I kind of try to have that attitude I would have when I know that everything has worked out already. Because
Mm.
I always have this underlying belief that everything is going to work out
Mm.
how I want it to, or how it should work out as.
Mm.
And that's how I have. I think that's pretty much how I have that resilience, because I don't, like, you know, like there's that quote that says tough times, uh something about tough times, like hard times never last but tough people do, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, that's all easy to say until you're going through something, but like, you
Mm.
know, if you think about like the last like really hard time you had and where you are now, if you've
Yeah.
gotten over it or not, and you think about the situation you were in at the time, and you think about how you are now, like today, doing a podcast with,
Mm.
you know, somebody on the internet. And so just imagine like if something tomorrow happened
Mm.
that you were like, wow, this is really like, you know, like if you lost your job tomorrow and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, da 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 da. And then just write that down and think about how you would be a year from now, like if you would even remember tomorrow,
Mm.
if that makes sense. So that's pretty much how I deal with stuff. Plus, like I've had all these different type of jobs. I've had a lot of money. I've had a little bit of money.
Mm.
Um, and like I said before, I have this whole underlying belief that things will always work out, and they always have.
Mm. So what, like for me, I feel like I have a similar mindset as well. And it's funny because when you said that things will always work out, I was literally like, like that was literally running through my head as well. Because a few years back, I think I was dealing with a few issues, and then I had a cousin of mine who's kind of like just giving me some kind words to help me through it, and he was like, "I'm sure everything will work out. Everything will work itself out." And it's just crazy how life works, because there's a lot of times where you feel like there's a situation that's not good for you and you're not happy with it, and then you're like, oh, I wish I was doing this instead. Or you even compare yourself to other people. Like when I was in school, I feel like a lot of teachers didn't really believe in me in such a way that I felt like I was a really intelligent kid that was creative, but like feel like it didn't get nurtured by school, and that meant that I really like clowned around a lot, and I didn't really take it seriously at all. And then later on down the line, I'm just thinking like, yeah, they kind of neglected my creative side, and they kind of like neglected like kind of helping me develop in expressing myself, without trying to disrupt other people and be disruptive to my own education. But if I like, what they did was they put me in like in England we have in school we have tiers. So we have like in high school we have like a higher class that will do all the higher papers. So basically, if you're, and then there's another class called foundation. So if you're in foundation, you can only achieve grades C and lower. You can't get A's or B's like that because you don't even get to sit the higher tests. So like they put me in those foundation classes. So when like my whole life I was always sitting in the higher classes, and I felt like that was a huge like slight on their side. So I feel like I like for years I was kind of like thinking about that and really despising those teachers and stuff. And then like later on down the line, I've been thinking about it more and more, and I'm like looking back at it. If they hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been where I am today. I wouldn't have had to deal with the issues that made me stronger every time. And I don't know where I'd be if they like kept me in higher at this point. Who knows? Maybe I would have been doing better than I am or worse. But it's just really interesting how life itself does just seem to work out, and it's just a crazy way of finding your way through life as well.
Did you because you said, Jonathan, that you do a lot of journaling, and I started doing that a little while back as well, and I recommended it to MI visuals. So
Just say
have you yeah, but you know what, I like every time I say your name it's just so long because I keep saying your full name.
I have no idea why. Like like you can say my full name, but no one's forcing you to.
I don't know why. It just feels right.
Like
It just feels right.
Like Jonathan, imagine every single podcast episode, instead of just calling you Jonathan, he's calling you Jonathan Belle every time.
I do.
And
I do it all the
he's
time.
your co-host for 10 plus episodes or something.
But did you get into journaling as well?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I mean, over the years, I've kind of like picked up different ways of journaling, but nowadays, I haven't really been as introspective or like over the last year or so. I don't know. I got married in 2019, so I feel like my wife is a big source of therapy for me. So whenever I'm down or I'm not feeling up to something, I kind of speak to her, and she kind of like logically helps me break down how I'm feeling and helps me like make a decision on what I want to do. Like recently, my workplace actually had an opportunity where, because I didn't do a degree, I dropped out of university and I did my own thing, and I did an apprenticeship, and that's where I got to today. But recently, my workplace had an opportunity to do a paid like degree, and I'll still be working full time, but I'd also be doing a degree. And I was really struggling with that because with that, I had to let them know that I wanted to do it, and then I had to give a reason for why. But it seemed like all lights were green, and I could probably go ahead and do it and get a free degree out of it. And a lot of the times, like growing up, my whole family are like, go get that degree, get that degree. And I was really thinking about it. Do I really want to commit to a degree right now, even if it's free? Because we all know how much education costs, like formal education anyway. So I was really struggling with it because they gave me a deadline as well, and then like it was really stressing me out. And then I spoke to my wife about it, and like she kind of logically broke it down to me and asked me what I want to do with my life and what I want to do in the next couple of years. And that really helped me think about it a bit more, because for me, like right now, I'm working 9 to 5, and I've had a steady like career trajectory for the last 5 years. Things have been improving and improving, thankfully. And like I've done all that without the use of a degree, and I probably can continue doing that without the use of a degree. And I had just started the Bluprint as well at that time, so I was thinking like, yeah, if I do the degree now, what happens? Like, how much time am I gonna have for doing my own creative things, for doing creative things for the Bluprint, for networking with my friends and family, and also on top of that, the 9 to 5. So that was a real big struggle for me. And like, I mean, maybe like a few years back, I would have like journaled it and broke it down into a list or something of pros and cons. But now, thankfully, I have another source of therapy for me over there, my wife. She's always saying I don't praise her enough in my.
Yeah, damn, you got a gun to your head now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think you need to be like super introspective to do journaling. Like I just do it to get like to dump my thoughts onto a piece of paper, so I don't have it on my mind all the time. Like I usually do it when I can't sleep.
Yeah.
So I just sit back and I just write stuff. I'll literally write anything. Like my dinner was good, a little too much ketchup. Like I'll stuff like that. Yeah, like I actually would write that. Like I just want to write every thought that I have, so my mind is clear, and I think it helps me be even more creative as well. But but you could use it for different things. I think, Jonathan, you're using it to like from an introspective perspective, where you can look back later on and then return to the similar situation, but in an emotionally neutral state. And so yeah, you like there's a lot of use for journaling. You could do a lot of different things with it.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is writing down my creative ideas, because if I didn't write this down, they get lost in forever, and I hate that feeling. I hate it when like sometimes I'm in the shower and I literally rush out, slipping and sliding all over the floor, just to get my phone, just so I can write down the idea. And yeah, otherwise I just regret it so much, because I have a pretty bad short-term memory. So if I didn't write it down, the idea is gonna be lost forever. So the blueprint might never have happened if I didn't jump out of the shower and almost dislocate my knee.
Hey,
Yeah,
I feel like we made a video about this.
I'm not sure. Uh,
But so, how did you find your like a style? Like you're the Superman. Probably, honestly, probably one of my most favorite Instagram profiles, Instagram pages. But like, how do you find that style? Because for me, like, I remember struggling settling with a style. I didn't know. Like, I felt like if I just pick one thing, there was so much other stuff I couldn't do. So how do you go with Superman and why Superman?
Superman was my favorite uh, is my favorite superhero. So, and the reason why I picked that is because, well, when Man of Steel came out, that was one of my favorite Superman suits. I never really cared for the Christopher Reeve style suit and everything, and when the Man of Steel came out, it's like, now that I could use that to take some really cool pictures, with photography and everything. But basically, I choose Superman because of his ideals and how I want to aspire myself to be. It's, to me, Superman is like the epitome of the golden rule. The whole, do unto others as you would want them to do yourself. So when I wear the suit and when I take pictures of it in it, it's pretty much like a reminder to myself to just try to be a better version that I can.
I've done a little bit digging, and I've also found stuff in like a Doctor
this guy
Strange.
is digging.
Yeah, like I dug deep. I think so. I think I did at least. I also saw like some Doctor Strange stuff. So is do you have like an interest in superheroes, or is it just specifically those two?
Oh yeah, I really like comics and pop culture and everything. Yeah, I even have like some Green Lantern stuff. But basically, all of the different cosplays that I do or like suits that I do, they're all ways for me to learn different things. So, for instance, I did Superboy stuff, and the only reason the literally the only reason why I went that route is because I like the cyberpunk synthwave like aesthetics, like retro stuff, and
Yeah.
the '90s Superboy fit that aesthetic a lot. I knew I didn't want to use like the Man of Steel outfit um, to make retro stuff because to me that wouldn't have looked right aesthetically. But so then I decided to do the Superboy stuff. Well, after that, I wanted to kind of practice drawing a little bit, which even now I still haven't done a lot. So
Mm.
I wanted to do the Green Lantern because I do like the Green Lantern and willpower. I like have a Green Lantern tattoo on my finger. But the main reason why I started with that is because I wanted to get Procreate, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Green Lantern, but they can make like different constructs and do all this
Yeah.
different stuff. So I was like, you know what? If I wanted to practice a different type of editing or a different style, I could take photos and then I could just draw on top of the photos and Procreate and do some stuff like that. And that's the only reason why I started doing that. And Doctor Strange, I like him as a character, but the reason why I started to cosplay with him is so I could learn a lot of things in After Effects and do stuff with like portals or like retro kind of vintage designs, like surreal. Like I could do a lot of surrealism stuff, like in the movie. So that's why I picked him to do that type of stuff. So pretty much every single time that I uh, have a new character or story, it's basically so I could do different types of like graphics.
Mm.
Were you doing this stuff before you quit your job, or is it something that has come as a result of you having more time?
I've always been like creative and stuff. The only reason why I quit my job was to try to find a way to make a living while being creative.
Mm. Have you ever thought of doing like a Justice League edit where it's just you playing all different characters? I'm not sure how it would work with Wonder Woman, but
No, I mean like no, because I mainly try to go with characters that I would like enjoy. Like I like the Flash, but I don't think I
Yeah.
would do. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not really a fan of Batman and stuff. But no, it's and this is why, like, you know, people, you look like Killmonger, you should do Killmonger, or you look like all these, and I just don't care to do them because I actually don't really care for those characters. These are still all
Mm.
characters that I like, and I try to incorporate stuff with more that I like instead of like I should do.
Mm.
I have two quick fire questions. One is Marvel or DC?
I mean, it's both.
Oh wow, that's a politician's answer.
Well, I mean,
Well,
I've never really been one for those type of questions because I'm not like, you know, I obviously like Doctor Strange and I like Superman, so I can't say one or the other, could I?
Mm.
fair enough. So my second question is, what superhero movie is your favorite one of all time, and why?
Then give you the same answer.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard. Like, my favorite movie ever is Memento, which is not a superhero movie, but other than that, um, you know, I really like Man of Steel, but I also really like Mystery Men, and you know what I mean. So, like, and The Dark Knight is a really good one. So, I have a hard time with favorites and stuff because everything brings value in its own way, or I get enjoyment out of things in their own way.
Mm. What would you say yours is, Ray?
Uh, I might go with The Dark Knight. I think that
Dark
movie is
Knight.
just so good. I honestly maybe even I really like the new Joker movie. Like that one I really liked as well.
What do you think about that
Uh,
one, Jonathan?
That
Because
was really good. It was really good. But yeah, I think I saw The Dark Knight in the theaters like 5 times. That's how many times I saw that movie.
damn.
That
All right.
movie
So, I
was
mean, I think you could base your rank of your favorite film on how many times you've seen it. Then.
I mean, like, there's some movies I like more than like. I didn't really care for Batman versus Superman. I didn't like the Justice League. I don't even
yeah.
I don't even know if I'm going to like. I have the whole Snyder cut hashtag and all that stuff muted on Twitter because I'm sick of hearing about people arguing about it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really enjoy Batman vs Superman either. I don't know. I just felt like they just like pitted them against each other just for the sake of making the film. So I feel like they didn't really help the story too much, you know.
Yeah, and I didn't like Aquaman. I didn't really care for Shazam. Um, you know, Wonder Woman was all right, but you know, everybody has their own different. Like, Marvel makes good live action movies, and
Mm,
DC makes really great animated movies.
mm,
So it's like, well, to me, that's my own personal opinion. So like, I really do enjoy the animated Marvel DC movies a lot, and you know, like the Green Lantern movie. Man, when I saw that, I personally was disappointed with it. But they have
Ryan
yet
Reynolds.
to break out, yeah. But they have yet to break out with anything Green Lantern that's animated. All their
Yeah.
these Green Lantern movies are great, and even the Green Lantern show that they had was really, really well done.
Mm. I've got to say, like growing up, like Green Lantern was probably my favorite superhero just because of like the way that he could just make anything just based on his willpower. I think that's like probably the coolest superpower to have out of those like Justice League characters anyway. Because the rest of them are like kind of generic, but that's like you can use your imagination to do anything you want, just as long as you have the will to do it. And I think that like embodies a really strong spirit in that. So that's like my favorite superhero growing up, but I don't really have a favorite anymore, like you said. All right, here's another one. Who's your favorite super villain? Because I think there's some villains that I'm just like, oh my god, this guy again. And then there's some that are like I actually really enjoy hearing their dialogue and what they got to say and stuff. Like for me, like Doctor Doom is really cool. I really enjoy like seeing his stuff, and I think he's got a really cool aesthetic as well.
Yeah, he's pretty dope. Honestly, I've always been a fan of like Batman's villains a lot more than Superman's. Like, I don't really care for Lex Luthor at all. I like Lobo. I like the Riddler. I've always liked the Riddler as a villain. But yeah, basically, like, I think Arkham and Gotham, the whole Batman, his whole villains, I really like those more than I like Superman's.
Mm.
So I've always been a fan. But just off the top of my head, like Lobo and and the Riddler are probably my two favorite ones.
Mm. Yeah, good about you, Ray.
I think I gotta go with Doctor Octopus. Like I really like that guy. I
Still
thought
the
I
best
was
one.
just like, yeah. I mean, where I live in Denmark. They didn't show the Green Lantern unless it was with Justice League. So I never really got to watch any cartoons with the Green Lantern. But they
Really?
showed a whole lot of Spider Man, and there was a lot of Doctor Octopus. There's this what's this other guy again? The one who turns into alligator, the doctor.
Dr. Crook or something like that?
Oh, the lizard.
Yeah, from Spider Man, right?
Yeah, the lizard.
Yeah, I really liked him as well because it was like he's a good guy, but his circumstances are making him bad. I think that was pretty cool as well. So I think Spider-Man's villains are were pretty good outside of the obvious like the Joker. I've always enjoyed the Joker.
Mhm. Yeah, another question we always like to ask our guests is like, what were your creative origins? How did you get into creativity? Like, at what point did it start? And like I mentioned earlier with mine, like I was a creative kid, but in school, that they really nerfed that, in my opinion. And over the last few years, I've been embracing it a bit more. So, what about you, Jonathan?
I would say it started as a kid too. Like I used to write a bunch of like I used I used to like have those notebooks, like composition books, and pretty much as a kid I would write out my entire day, and that's how I would start like writing and stuff. Um, I used to fill those up with just writing little stories here and there about the whole day.
Mm.
Um, and like I got into computers and graphic design in my teens, so I was basically like using Photoshop way back when it was Photoshop 7 in like the early 2000 ish.
Yeah.
Like even before that, like I think like 15, I was using Photoshop.
Mm.
So, and I didn't get my camera until 10 years ago. I took that up, but I've always been into graphic design, since I was like a younger age and like trying to tell stories and stuff. And I've loved movies. Going to the movies and looking at movies is one of my favorite pastimes. Video games. I love doing puzzles, like all this type of stuff that I liked as a kid. So it just kind of all manifests itself a little bit more
Mm.
now.
So, would you say like it's always been there, and you've never really stopped being creative then, in
Yeah,
that artistic way?
I mean, like even Game Boy cameras when they came out, I had to have a Game Boy camera
I've
when
never heard of the Game Boy camera. Do you mean like the Nintendo like DS and stuff?
yeah. No, I
Okay.
mean the original, like the old Game Boys.
Yeah, I think I'm too young for that.
I played on the Game Boy, so it's the one without colors, right?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
there's Game Boy Color as well.
then they had the Game Boy Color, but they came out with this like camera that you could put on the Game Boy, and it takes like the little 16-bit photos of you. And then they
Okay.
had this little
Damn,
picture that you could print out and stuff. It was pretty cool. Like you just type in Game Boy camera, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's pretty cool.
I'll type it in right now.
That's a pretty cool aesthetic. What did it show up on the Game Boy screen then when you took a picture?
Yep.
Okay, that's
That's
literally
pretty
the first
cool,
time
man.
I've
You're
ever
taking me way back.
heard. Yeah, I've never actually seen that before. Damn, they had a printer too.
That's wild.
Damn.
Were you like into a lot of video games growing up?
Yeah, I really was into, like, my parents made it a point where like to support my video game stuff, they would all like I would play Super Mario 3 on our Nintendo, and the whole family would get together and watch, like to see how far I could go without
Oh,
dying.
dang. Yeah,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
live YouTube audience there.
Yeah,
You were prepped for this kind of work.
that was
So,
fun.
mm, yeah, I don't know. My parents never really supported games, so like I didn't pick up my first game console until I was in secondary school, which is like high school for you guys. So I think I was like probably 14 or something, and I picked up. I got the Nintendo Wii, I think, when it came out, and I really loved that, man. I've been meaning to get a Nintendo Switch for a long time, but I feel like it hasn't been replicated for a while. And I've actually got a video up of me. Like I ended up getting an Xbox. Do you know the Xbox Kinect? It's like the one that it can see us. It's like a motion one. It's kind of like a Nintendo Wii, but on Xbox. And I remember getting that in school when I was around 14, 15 as well. and I think I just started using Facebook, and I uploaded a really now when I see it, it's really embarrassing. There's like a video of me just running like indoors and like jumping like hurdles, all imaginary, but I'm running on the spot. And boy, my wife loves to bring that video up. I'll send it to you guys after. I think you'll have a good laugh out of it. But
Yeah, I want to see that video.
yeah, and then since then I've been a pretty avid gamer myself. But yeah, I've been picking up loads of games on my PC over the years as well on Steam, but I never get the time to play them these days. So I just end up playing like multiplayer games 90% of the time. I don't know. I just wish I had the time to enjoy like RPGs and story modes a bit more. But I don't know. What was
Yeah,
your favorite game growing up?
growing up, I used to play I had an N64. Was probably like one of my favorite consoles growing up. So like that, I'd play. And even then, like I had an Atari, and I first started playing Pitfall on our Atari, and then I went to the Nintendo when I played Super Mario, and then we got an N64. I'd play like Banjo Kazooie and like Super Mario 64. Those games are fun. But now I love playing Call of Duty, so that's what I pretty much play all the time, and I'm pretty dang good at that game actually because I play it
Do
all
you
the
Modern
play?
Warfare.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at Modern Warfare. Um, I haven't played. I mean, I do have Cold War, but I haven't been playing as much as I could because I haven't had a place to play it
Mm.
recently. So my PlayStation has just been off because I don't have the Wi-Fi or a way or means or TV to play it. So, but yeah, when Modern Warfare came out, I was living in a hotel for the most part. So I was play that after work every day and got pretty dang good at it.
Hmm.
And
I
even
think I got.
you know,
I haven't.
Ops
Oh,
2,
sorry.
Ops 3, Modern Warfare, all that stuff.
I wasn't really gaming like a lot growing up. I played like Rayman and Duke Nukem or like early on, but then I think I didn't really start playing anything until like October 2020 when I got Call of Duty Modern Warfare and I started playing the Warzone thing, and I'm like I got so addicted, like I was not doing any work at all. Like I'd be in work meetings while playing games. I'd beg people to come online to play with me.
Literally, and this is just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm rehab right now, but oh my goodness, I was like super addicted. I even got you addicted to it. I mean, not addicted, but I even got you to download it and play it as well.
Yeah, because Warzone is such a big game. I had it on PS4 and it was just taking up too. I had to delete like 5 games I was in the middle of just to download it. So I gave up on it for a good 6 months or something, and then Ray started playing again, and then I started playing again as well on PC. And yeah, but I'm like my attention span for games is growing so short right now. Like I can't play a game and enjoy it if I'm not good at it, and I don't want to spend the time to learn it. So I'm trying to like play more RPG games. Like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla at the moment, but that's also taking its time as well. What are you gonna
Right.
say?
They take a little bit of time to get used to, but like those first person shooters I've been playing for a while. So and it's like everything when a new game comes out, if you don't know where all the maps are and stuff, you're gonna get killed right away. And you just
Mm,
gotta get used to it.
mm. Like you said, you go hiking every now and then earlier. Is that something you've done like growing up, or is this something that you've started doing as an adult then?
Yeah, I mean, growing up here and there, I mean, like, I grew up in Los Angeles, so there
Mm,
really wasn't like a lot of places to hike, but I do like being outside. Like, we went to the beach all the time, and then like once I started getting more into like creativity stuff in my, I would go to Joshua Tree and take photos and stuff there, just, like travel and stuff. So yeah, like being outdoorsy is always something that I'd like to do.
mm,
And it's nice traveling around, going to all different state parks and stuff, and just looking at things.
mm. Would you say you started like cosplaying as well? Because I feel like there's a big stigma around cosplay as well. Like you said earlier, around van life people, how there's that stigma attached to it, and also cosplaying as well. I feel like a lot of people think like, or even anime, for example, people who watch anime, people think they're a bunch of creeps as well for some reason. But a lot of people seem to be watching it a lot more these days. I feel like Attack on Titan is really popular of an anime if you've watched it before. But
Yeah, I didn't catch up on the last 2 episodes.
yeah, I used to read the manga actually, so it's the graphic novel basically, but I hadn't I was up to date up until like what the anime, the season 3 of the anime now. So I'm quite behind. So I've been meaning to
Oh, they
catch up.
came out season 4.
Yeah, so I think season 3 and season 4 I've got to catch up on. But yeah, I just want to talk about that a little bit, like cosplay. Like, how did you get into that? Because I feel like a lot of people like dress up for Halloween and things like that, and then they feel good about themselves during the night and they have fun and they enjoy it. But when it comes to cosplay, they look down on it, which is a bit weird to me.
I mean, I've never had that situation before, but mainly it's I wanted to, take photos in the Superman suit. So I
Mm,
I like I like that outfit in general. Like that's something that I could wear like normal clothes to me. Like all the stuff that I would wear in my photos and stuff are things that I would wear in real life because I like how I feel in those suits.
mm,
So and that just like goes with anything, like different clothes, different styles, cosplay, dressing up. Like I've always liked fashion, dressing up, costumes, and things of that nature. So it's one
mm.
I never did like I said earlier, I never did really care for the Man of Steel suit to wear myself with the red underwear and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why when Man of Steel came out and I saw that suit, that's when it really kind of jump started the idea because that was something that I actually liked and I knew would look good.
Mm.
I have a question about like you started this thing called Creativity Fuel. What is that, and why did you start it?
I pretty much started that because like when I first started getting into like photography and I would ask people um like about locations or like how they do different effects and nobody wanted to give their secrets, quote unquote, that always irritated the heck out of me. So
Mm.
the whole creativity fuel thing is a way for like me or artists to share everything that they're doing to inspire or like invoke creativity in others.
Mm.
Because I knew like I hated how I felt when people would like try to ignore me and not want to help, you know, with my creativity. And I was like, I never want to do that to anybody else.
Mm. You mean when you like ask someone like the creative process and things, and they just they don't really feel they don't show any kind of receptiveness, and or they ignore you totally. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a
Or
yeah.
I mean, or just like flat out saying like I can't tell you that. That's my secret. Like, and then you're just gonna copy me, or then you're just gonna do what I'm doing.
Mm,
And that's like, I get it, but I just don't have that attitude because that's like a me attitude. Like you're gonna take popularity from me.
mm,
That would be like me being like if you were to ask me like how I take all my levitation photos, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna tell you because then you're gonna do it and you might get more popular than me. Like who the hell wants that type of attitude? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I think it is a bit of an insecurity, but yeah, like it's good that Ray asked about that because I was gonna ask you next about your creative process in general. When you come up with the idea, what's the first thing you do, and how do you carry on from there to make it like the final finished product? Because for me, what I do is I think of an idea usually because growing up, I read a lot, tons and tons of books, and I loved sci-fi and fantasy and stuff. So when I have a good affinity towards things like you said, like retrowave and synthwave and stuff. I really enjoy that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, when I think of an idea, usually I write down a few words and then I like start. Well, sometimes I'm quite methodical about it, where I go and Google images for every single word that I think of, and then I like make a whole folder just for that single word, and then put in a whole bunch of pictures in there. And then after I've like finished with all the words and put in all the pictures for each word, I kind of think about how I'm going to use those pictures together to like help come up with the idea in terms of if it's like a graphic design piece or something. What's your like creative process like?
Well, when I first get an idea, I'll write it down. But
Mm,
I usually get a lot of my like random sporadic ideas from music because I
yeah.
love like either if it's music that's instrumental or with lyrics. A lot of the pictures and stuff or like stories that I try to tell, it's trying to convey an emotion of how like a lyric makes me feel or like how a song makes me feel or like an emotion I felt during music. And
Mm,
that's like one of the main I think that's like one of the main thing. Like pretty much all of my photos on Instagram or like anything are like that spaceship one that I just put up like on my Instagram where I'm like levitating with in like a it's like a double
UFO.
exposure photo with the UFO thing.
Yeah.
That's a song from that's the Killers. They have a song called Spaceman, and they
Mm.
have a line that's like it says it's all in my mind. Like this, like the whole song is called Spaceman, but pretty much that picture came about from that song, from the
Mm.
lyrics in that song. So a lot of the stuff that I do is to do with like how I want to visually make something about how I feel with words or lyrics in music.
Mm. So, like, let's say once you've written the idea down, what's the next step?
Then I'll go try to take the photos, and then I'll just spend time on the computer trying to edit it out, and it'll just all go from there. If I don't know how to do something, I might go on YouTube first and figure it out, and then I'll try to spend time putting everything together.
Mm. Okay, cool. So, what about you, Ray? What kind of like creative process do you follow when you come up with the idea, and how do you like finish that?
Oh wow, I like just me and structure are not good friends. Like I don't have a one set way I do things.
Mm.
I like to just write my ideas down. So for example, I'm working on a video for our channel for next week, and I've written down certain points that I want to make in that video, but I'm not writing down the script.
Yeah.
So the way that I prep for this video is just to look at videos on YouTube to see if there's anything similar, if there's anything other people haven't covered, to try to see where I can add some sort of value. And then if it's let's just use a picture. If I'm recreating something, obviously I'm gonna study everything about that picture that I'm trying to recreate. So for example, I did the Spider-Man recreation shot, and or at least I try to use that as my inspiration. So I did everything like um, outfits, pose, angles, the city that the picture was taken in, etc. But mostly it's just small prep every day, but nothing where I sit down and say, "All right, now I have to prep." It's just I write stuff down sporadically, and then eventually, when I sit down and work, I just try to piece that together.
Mm. We're going to finish up soon, but I just want to ask one last question before the final question. In terms of what motivates you to create regularly and consistently? Because I feel like you're quite a consistent creator, or maybe you do them in batches. But I just wanted to know what kind of drives you every day, or to post consistently and always kind of share your content.
This is something that I love to do,
Mm.
and that's the whole reason why I could quit that job in the first place. Because if I could get paid to do exactly what I'm doing now, or like have monetization stuff or whatever the hell reason, I like just making stuff and sharing it. And like
Mm.
I love traveling around. I love taking photos of just stuff, or like like this is what I would want to be doing. So
Yeah.
the motivation for that is just like I love making stories and like talking with people and trying to connect with people. That's what I like to do.
Mm.
So for me, it's like pretty much living my life.
It makes sense. I mean, if you enjoy it, then you're gonna do it. So that makes absolute sense. But for some reason, it doesn't sound as simple as that when I think about it for myself. Because I really enjoy doing it myself, but like I get a real like sense of social fatigue when I'm constantly on like social media and stuff, and like comparing myself to other people. I posted a video about that yesterday about not to do that, and it's something that can kind of limit your inspiration as well, because sometimes you need to just think of ideas for yourself as well. But yeah, I try to avoid comparing myself to others, but when I see other people's work, I really enjoy their work as well, and I just want to make something similar or as of a high quality. And then that kind of like it puts a little bit of stress in my head. But these days I'm trying to relax a bit more about it now. Like everyone has their art styles and their journeys and their stories, and I just want to kind of avoid comparing myself a bit more. So I don't know, hopefully, like, because like I'm rambling all over the place, but during the time I had COVID, I was in bed like the whole time. I couldn't get out of bed, and I was really in an introspective mood, and I was thinking about what I want to do in the next year or so, and how that can affect like my creativity. And I want to really make sure that I pick up hobbies that I just enjoy regularly, like not worrying about monetizing it, not worrying about whether it's going to go somewhere or not. I don't know why, but I feel like everyone has that like that propaganda stuck in their head these days, that you have to be monetize what you're doing. You have to make it a means of you growing your brand or whatever. I feel like it's a lot more of a machine. I feel like people are trying to beat the algorithm and all these things. So I'm trying to like put that in, give that advice to myself and stick to it as well. So it's just good to hear that someone like your thoughts there in terms of like just doing it because you enjoy it. I
Yeah,
think Ray
well,
has similar struggles.
it's easy for me to say that because of like what I said, like the whole reason why I quit my job in the first place is because like I almost got in a car accident, with like a serious car accident. So that kind of just like, jolted me out of the whole like like I should do what I want to do with life. As far as what you're saying about like, last year a lot of us, we were either, off from work and comparing ourselves to others because there are some people really creative and taking off during COVID quarantine, and there are other people that weren't. And that's something you got to get in with yourself. I mean, there were times where I just couldn't do anything. I would just like, play Call of Duty all day for like a whole week. And then and that's the thing, like being creative, you're not creative 24/7. I mean, like sometimes you just have downtime, and the key is to not beat yourself up when you have downtime, because then you start comparing yourself and thinking all the stuff that you should be doing, and in reality it's we're not made that way. It takes a lot of brain power to be creative, to think of ideas, to do all this stuff. Like even if you're not making anything, like taking a photo, imagine all the thought processes and stuff that you have to do to go into preparing to even want to take that photo in the first place. Like it's a lot of mental energy thinking, creating stuff before it even becomes something that you put out in the world. So of course people get exhausted because it's a lot of brain power. But the thing that hangs them up is that if they're not doing anything about it right away, then it feels like they're not doing anything at all. And then they start comparing themselves and all this other stuff. And that's why when I say like I just want to do this stuff, it's easy for me to say that, but all this stuff goes into that statement. Um like I just would, if I don't feel like doing anything, I just won't. If there's some days when I'll post like, 30 stories on my Instagram, and then I'll disappear sometimes for like 2 or 3 days. I don't announce everything I'm doing. I don't do that because nobody cares, one, and two, you're just putting expectations on yourself, and then if you don't do them on yourself, then you're the one that ends up hurting yourself, not everybody else. If you were to go tell everybody, hey, I'm taking a break, I'll be back in a week, what if you didn't want to come back in a week? Then you're like, well, I already told everybody, so if I don't, my followers aren't going to like me. So like all that stuff, I just don't even fall into any of that because it's not important. You're doing this stuff because you want to feel relevant still. And the minute that you start realizing that, like, just treat things like nobody cares. That's pretty much how I treat everything I do. It's like nobody cares. If they care, they care. If they don't, they don't. It's come a long way to come to this point, and I'm not a robot, so of course I would like people to see my stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm the one that gets to travel around and do this stuff, and I feel good about it. If people want to watch what I'm doing, it's cool. If they don't, I understand that. And lastly, what I'll say is like people have this whole I could get discouraged all I want with all the with quote unquote all the followers I have.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking at the bigger picture here, because why would I say nobody wants to see everything I'm doing when my everybody is only 16,000 followers out of how many millions of people, let alone on Instagram, as opposed to the whole entire world on social media.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get upset because a fraction of people don't like what I'm doing when not the whole world have seen what I've done. And so that's the thing too, is to keep in mind is that like you are continually working to build an audience. And that's just has to go hand in hand with it. If you get disappointed that the people that you know now either A, don't like your stuff, or B, aren't seeing your stuff, and you want to quit, and you're thinking like, if the algorithm's only showing your content to 10% of your followers and you want to give up, you're only thinking about it that way, as opposed to, wow, there's so many more people that could potentially see my stuff, so I should keep going. You know what I mean? So there's always like two sides to that, but it's a lot easier to get wrapped up in the negative part of life, as we all know, than the positivity or the optimistic side of what could happen. And that's why it's easy for me to say this stuff, because like, shoot, I like, it's only January. There have been people that follow me, that unfollow me, that unfollow me and follow me. There are people that don't know I exist. There are people that know I exist that don't like any of my stuff. It's all this stuff. You could go on and on and on about it, or you could just continually do what you want to do. And those who like it will share it and like it, and those who won't just won't.
Beautiful piece of advice there, and I couldn't have said it any better myself. I was going to ask you for any advice you want to give to creatives out there, but I think that I think you hit it on the spot without having us to ask, so it's good to hear. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. Is that do you want to tell the people where they can reach you and what you're up to?
They could, if you type in my name, Jonathan, Jonathan, last name is Belle, Belle, and any social media or Google, you could find tons of pictures and links to anywhere you want to see my stuff.
What about your podcast? It says here, Aaron says, I said his real name, that's his real name there, but Ray said,
wow, editing work. You got to edit my name out.
Yeah, I got to edit your name out 2 weeks in a row. You have 2 podcasts apparently, but I'm only aware of one. Is that true?
I have 2. I haven't used my other one because I don't have the time. But yeah, the Positive Vibe Tribe. That's pretty much a daily dose of positivity. If you type in Positive Vibe Tribe, you could find that. And yeah, it's on everywhere podcasts are available. You tune in whenever you want. Hear about a minute of me reading something inspirational every day.
So yeah, that's been Jonathan Belle talking to us about a whole variety of things, from gaming to creativity, creative processes, who your favorite supervillain is. It's been a great hour and 12 minutes, but we're going to wrap up here. So yeah, I'll put the links in the description for where people can find you. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been an honor. We really appreciate your patience and your honesty as well. So yeah, man, looking forward to continue interacting with you, and looking forward to what you keep on posting.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Ray, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, we should probably take a game like a Call of Duty, like go for a Call of Duty run one time.
I am totally down. I'm Seattle Superman on PlayStation.
Yeah, we're both on PC, so we do crossplay.
Well, that's the good thing about Modern Warfare. It's cross-platform.
Yeah, a lot of PS4 guys don't like playing with PC guys. I can tell you, I'm trash on PS4, but I've been playing.
You're trash on PC as well, but
no,
that's okay.
I'm trash on Warzone, but when it comes to like everyday Modern Warfare, I'm doing pretty good actually. Like, I bought the game recently again, so I've been playing that a bit.
I guarantee you, if I play with you, you won't be saying that.
Yeah, I'm sure I won't.
I like that. We should play then.
All right, cool. So wrap up here. It's been your boys, Emma Visuals and Ray Roots on the Bluprint Podcast. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for coming on. And we'll see you guys in the next podcast episode.